Today, I'm going to be analysing and looking at An San's technique. We're going to go over a few key things, namely how simple her technique is, her shot timing, the way she draws the bow, her bow hand position, and much, much more. So we've got a lot of things to cover today. We're going to get right into it. Before we do though, just to cover this off, first of all, if you haven't already, subscribe to my weekly email. Go to onlinearcheryacademy.com, pop your email address in here. Every Friday, I send an email to all my subscribers with 3 tips to help you improve your shooting. Everyone seems to love this because it's really quick and actionable. There's 3 simple tips, takes like 3 minutes to read. Definitely do that first of all. And now, let's get into the things that I want to show you here. So we're going to minimize that and we're going to get to the video of An San shooting here. So there's a lot to go over. I just want to show you, there's lots of different angles here. I want to show you, first of all, this one where she's shooting at the National Training Centre. So we're going to start from here. And I just want to let you watch a few of these shots in a row. So we're just going to watch it together and kind of just see a theme appearing here. You've probably watched her shoot before, but the way World Archery cuts it, you can't see the whole shot sequence in the matches. So it's good to kind of watch it here. It's a little bit windy, you can tell, but just look at the simplicity and the timing here. And this is the kind of first thing that I want to talk about. We'll watch one more together. And then comes down into full draw and then release. So I want to mention, first of all, the main thing that I want to highlight here is the simplicity. There are very few extra movements that are not needed here. Very, very deliberate. And actually, if we go all the way back here, this is actually a video, I don't know when this was taken. It was when she was in middle school. I'm not sure what year this was, but look at her technique when she was younger as well. And we'll see here, very, very similar. Very simple, not a lot of extra movement that's not needed. So just great technique already from middle school there. So the thing that I wanted to show here is, this is probably quite different to something like, if we go back to this video here, this is quite different to something like the analysis I did on Oh Jin-hyek, where people were saying there's lots of extra movements in the draw. What is he doing with the draw and does that not affect the shot? What I mentioned in that video is the key thing is obviously that moment of release. And we'll get into the mindset of that a little bit later as well. But obviously, in Oh Jin-hyek's case, that draw allows him to draw quickly. It allows him to not waste energy. It allows him to get to full draw and keep the balance, like he mentioned in the video. But in this case, for An San, this is a really good kind of different example, because for her, obviously keeping it simple helps her get a consistent shot. And it is very, very simple. There's very little extra movements here. If we go here, she sets her hand at the start in the grip when she lifts the bow off the foot here. And now her bow hand is set pretty well. We'll get into that a little bit later. And now she comes up, very simple raise, draw down, into full draw, and then after a couple of seconds shoot. Extremely simple. So that's the first point that I want to kind of highlight there. It's very simple. It takes a lot of work to make it that simple though. But that's the first thing I want to kind of cover there. The second thing I want to cover is timing. And I actually mentioned this in a video just after the Tokyo Olympic Games. I did a whole video on shot timing of Korean archers in general, where I analysed the shot timing and kind of went through with that, compared it to some archers from other countries. So definitely have a look at that if you haven't already. But in this example, there's actually a clip later on where I think they're doing shoot-off, either practice or at a selection shoot here. And this is really, really interesting because let's watch. I'm just going to put it on half speed to make it a little bit clearer what's happening here. And I'm going to zoom in slightly here so you can see a little bit more clearly. So let's go to here and I'll just scroll over slightly like that. So I want to get all the archers in because actually this is kind of important for what I want to show. Just watch the timing here. The buzzer goes, so they all raise at the same time. This is why they're all raising at the same time. And notice, I just want to highlight in this position here. Here, I believe this is Kang Chae-young. I don't know who this archer is with the aqua bow, but look at how far they've drawn the string. Both Kang Chae-young, this archer here, they've drawn quite far back. And then it's An San, and this, I believe, looks like Choi Mi-sun. They have not drawn the bow as far. Then, lowering the bow, now look at this point. Everyone, including Choi Mi-sun, has drawn the bow a bit further now. These archers at the front, Kang Chae-young and this archer here, have both drawn now much further. Then coming into full draw. Now everyone is coming into full draw. And this is the interesting thing. What I want to highlight here is if we go to normal speed now, and actually scroll back slightly, essentially, every single archer other than Ansan is spending longer at full draw. Ansan is basically having the least amount of time with the weight of the bow, with the poundage of it. Because she's basically, if I go to the full screen here so you can see, she's basically having a short pre-draw for quite an extended amount of time. So she's not drawing the bow that much. And then she draws the bow quite quickly into full draw and then shoots quite quickly as well. So the thing is, when she comes up here and then waits with the pre-draw, the other archers are already drawn to here and they're using that energy to hold the string and obviously the tension of the bow. So if you were to kind of add up the time under tension of all the archers, Ansan is by far the lowest here. So we'll see this in a sec now. So we're just going to, I'll let this play through finally for you. Just watch the raise. So raise up, very small pre-draw for Ansan, comes into full draw and shoots first, crucially, even though I think on the previous shot as well, I think she might have even been, there's two examples of this one and then on this one maybe, I think there's one where she comes in actually to full draw, she comes in slightly earlier, or yeah, there, so she's third into full draw, first to shoot out of all the archers, and her time of drawing is also the shortest. So this is the second thing that I wanted to mention, and this is the timing of the shot. Her timing is incredibly quick, and again we can see that from this video here. You probably spotted this at the start here, but essentially if you watch this timing at full draw, and there's actually a timer on this previous clip here. If we go, yeah, so watch this. This is from like some Korean TV show. Watch the timer in the bottom corner there. 4.6 seconds from raising, I think that's when they started there, from raising the shot. So if we scroll back, when did they start the timer? So she raised, and then they started it a little bit late, so maybe add half a second, 4.5 seconds. Now, it might not look that fast because it's very smooth and simple, but you go and shoot and try and do your whole shot in 5 seconds or slightly less, and you're going to realize just how incredibly quick that is. Honestly, to do the whole shot in 5 seconds, it feels like you're going like that. It feels ridiculous with the weight of a normal bow, and to be able to do it that consistently and that fast, give it a go and see how fast that really feels. This is the key thing with a lot of Korean archers, a lot of top archers in general. They don't have to be Korean, but when you see someone shooting very fast, Tanya Ting is a great example from a few years back from Taiwan as well. But when you see that, it looks quite slow and thoughtful because it's smooth, but actually it's very, very fast. So this is the other thing, and the consistency of that is obvious when we look at this video that we watched earlier, when she comes in and once she touches her nose, if I put this here so you can actually see it, once she touches her nose, if I'm going to zoom in for you here, and let's go here, it's generally between 2 to 3 seconds. Sometimes it's 1.5 seconds, sometimes 3 seconds, just over maybe, but generally it's like 2 or 2.5 seconds. In practice is a little bit shorter. Incredibly quick, coming into anchor, presses the string strong on her nose, continues that, and then shoots straight away. There's no hesitation, there's no stopping, and this is really one of her key strengths here. Comes in, 1, 2, shoot. So it's just absolutely like clockwork. We're going to look at one more, I think from a different angle here, and we're just going to scroll up. Comes in. This is, I believe, from a selection shoot, just slightly longer, that one. So you can see in competition, people get a little bit longer with timing, and that's okay. But I think this is really one of the key things that I wanted to show. There's a couple more things I want to mention here now as well. There's some mindset things, some speed of the draw that I wanted to show you in the order of that, and also her front shoulder. Before we do though, I also want to mention this video on YouTube is not going to be the full version because there's actually a couple more things that I want to share with my members. And if you want to access the full version, you can go and subscribe and become a member. So if you go to onlinearcheryacademy.com, click on become a member, you can subscribe, get access to all these things here, all the technique guides on my website, all the drills on my website, weekly video guidance from me, submit questions for Q&As, but you'll join my community basically, where you can get access to all of that, as well as tips from Kim Woo-jin, Steve Weiler, Bryony Pittman, and also this full extended version of the video today. So if you haven't checked that out, it's literally £2.99 a month. I don't know. I don't know. I can't make it any cheaper. It's probably going to have to increase in price soon, but I'm going to keep it for $2.99 a month at the moment, and whoever joins now is going to be basically grandfathered in at that price, and you'll keep that price. But I wanted to make this an absolute no-brainer. It's literally the price of a couple of knocks. So if you don't want to join with that, I'm not sure how I can help your archery. It's literally, I wanted to make it accessible to everyone. The last thing I also want to mention is my courses. If you haven't checked out my courses, these are full in-depth courses where I teach you step by step every single stage of the shot. So I've got a beginner's course here that you can see. I've got an advanced course. And the only thing I'm going to mention about this is I have a 100-day, as you can see here, 100-day money-back guarantee on all my courses. And only one archer ever has asked for a refund. Literally, you can try the courses for 100 days, watch them all. If you don't feel like it was for you, you didn't get value from it, send me an email, I'll give you a refund. Only one person ever has done that. So that's all I'll say about the courses. We're going to get back to the video now. And what I want to mention, if we close this here, what I want to mention here is the mindset. So in the thumbnail for this video, it mentioned you must be absolutely concentrated at the moment of full draw. And this is really, really important. The direct quote from Ansan is, "The moment when the arrow leaves the bow, you have to be completely concentrated." The moment when the arrow leaves the bow on the release, you have to be completely concentrated. Why is this so important? Let's actually go to a part of her shooting here. Let's zoom back out and let's go to, there's a back view on one here. And let's go, I want to go here and zoom in slightly. There we go. At the moment of release, a lot of archers, like I've mentioned before, spend a lot of time on the draw, a lot of time coming in, thinking about shooting. I was guilty of this as well. And then at the moment of release, they almost relax. They think my work is done. The arrow is on the way to the target. I don't have to do anything anymore. That's not the case. And you can see this here. The moment of release, if we go through here, the very moment of release, this movement of the draw elbow really continues coming around the body here at that very moment of release, and everything is kept tight. All the movement, scapula squeezing to the spine, continues, and the release is really strong. This is what you see with top archers when you compare, for example, if you take a video of yourself shooting or maybe some club level archers, you'll see that at the moment of release, often for lower level archers, it gets to the point of at the release, there's a bit of softening. There's a little jump, and crucially, the concentration goes from the technique often towards the target. Maybe it's looking at the arrow, maybe it's trying to see where the arrow's landed, maybe it's just basically relaxing and not keeping the focus mentally on, for example, the cue that you were using. Maybe it was draw scapula squeezing to the spine or something. So all of those things, whatever the thing you're focusing on is, you must maintain that at the moment of release. I want to show you the back view to kind of describe this or kind of show it a little bit more. So here, if we go to the back view, and we're going to zoom right in. It will get a little bit pixelated, but you can see a bit better what I mean with this. So if we go here, watch this draw scapula. So Ansan comes up here, draw scapula squeezes towards the spine, and now at the moment of release, watch the movement on both sides. Watch the bow hand as she directs into the target, watch the draw elbow come around the body, and then also the scapula. Crucially, the scapula does not come away from the spine. A lot of, if I get my brush up here, a lot of archers make the mistake that I mentioned, where if they relax and you watch this shoulder blade here, you'll actually see that when they relax at full release, that the shoulder blade jumps back this way. So that was a bad arrow, but it jumps back like this. And obviously that's much easier to see if you shoot without a t-shirt, but you can still see it even through a t-shirt sometimes. Now watch this on release. See how solid everything was there. There was no folding and being collapsed by the bow on release. Ansan was still basically extending both sides, having that balance, directing forwards, directing away from the target. So this is really, really, really key. This is, yeah, absolutely critical. Now, the next thing I wanted to mention is the speed. And specifically, what I want to mention there is the speed that she draws. So if we go, this view is good. And it shows it well because everyone raises at the same time. But look at the speed that she draws, very little tension on the string here. From this position, her setup, to full draw is extremely quick. And draws in and comes in there. It's very, very quick, maybe similar to Lee Sung-yun. And this essentially, like I said before, saves a lot of time, but also a lot of energy because she's drawing quickly. We can also see it from another angle here. If we go, this angle is the one I wanted to show you here. So raise up and come straight in. Now that is, again, if you try and do that with a 40-pound recurve bow, you will feel that is very hard to do. That takes a lot of energy, more than it looks like. But that speed of doing that basically saves the energy for when she's expanding and then releasing, because she hasn't wasted it all during the shot. So this is something, again, I mentioned this after the Tokyo Games. I want to encourage you to maybe just time your shot in a similar way to this clip that was earlier in the video, where they had this timer here. Just time your shot from the moment you raise the bow. They started it a little bit late in this example, but the moment you raise the bow off the foot, or if it's on your leg, you raise the bow off your leg. Time from there until you release the arrow, and just see what that shot timing is. See how consistent it is, and see if you can reduce it. Especially that time of then drawing the bow, that is the bit that's going to tire you out. That's the killer. That's what I want to kind of mention there. Now, the thing I want to show next is the front shoulder. So we're going to go to, the front view shows it okay, but I want to show that second. This view is the one I want to show first. Ansan is very methodical about how she raises the bow and gives herself enough time to set the front shoulder. This is really good. So if we go to here, you'll see she's raising the bow, she's directing forwards, bow hand solid in the grip, raises to here, and she particularly spends enough time and gives herself, by having this shorter pre-draw, she gives herself the opportunity, I'll zoom in a little bit more for you, to set the front shoulder before she commits to drawing a lot on the bow. And this is really, really important. There's two main points to this. It makes sure her front shoulder is forward enough before she is then drawing the bow. There's not too much tension on the string, essentially. If you do what a lot of archers end up doing, so we'll watch this one more time. She raises up, front shoulder is good, and then commits to the draw. So this is really, really key. So many archers, if I go to the full screen, so many archers have too much tension here, so that when they raise, they come up, and by the time they're here, look at all this tension. I've drawn the bow essentially to here, basically to my shoulder already. And if you do that, it's basically putting a lot of tension on the string. And let's say you have a 40-pound bow. By this point, you've already got maybe 35 pounds of draw weight, pushing your shoulder back before you've had the chance to actually set it in the position that you want. So this is really the problem of it, because you've got that tension here, and if you raise up like this, you're being pushed back. You can't then direct your shoulder forwards and get it set where you want before you draw, because you're already in a bad position. Once you're up there, there's kind of no going back. It's kind of set there. It's going to be high, and it's going to be hard through the shot. So having the shorter pre-draw and being methodical like Ansan is about making sure, okay, I've got a shorter pre-draw, I'll come up, I'll get my shoulder in line, and then commit to the draw whilst also still directing forwards. It's not set and forget like I've mentioned in previous videos. You don't want to, it's not like you set your bow shoulder and then forget about it. But you want to have that solid before you commit too much on the draw side. The second point that's really key about this is the height that you do it. If you imagine here, you're drawing the bow as you raise, like this. At this point, if you're drawing and you're trying to set the front shoulder, look at the force that's coming here. The force from pulling the string is pushing your shoulder up, like this. It's literally pushing your shoulder up towards your ear because you're pulling the string and it's going like this. Now if we look at the video and go here and we slightly rewind, if you come to here and in this position, now Ansan is starting to set her front shoulder. The difference is her hand, her draw hand here, is above her bow shoulder. And this is something I mentioned if you go to the draw section, or maybe it's the setup section on my technique guide on the website. So onlinearcheryacademy.com, go to the technique guides. You'll see this described in great detail. But if you wait until the draw hand is above the bow arm, then essentially there is now not to get too physics about this, but there is a component of the force. We have this force now by drawing the bow. There is a component of the force. There's no longer part of the force that's pushing the bow shoulder up. There's actually a component of this draw force that's pushing the bow shoulder down because your hand is above your bow shoulder. So this is why it's so important to get the order correct, because now you're essentially using that pulling to help you set your bow shoulder rather than trying to set your bow shoulder with a compromised high tension already that's pushing it up towards your ear. So this is, I can't stress enough how important this is as well. This is really, really key. While we're on this topic as well, I actually want to show you from the front view. So if I zoom out a bit, the front view here, let's go to there. You can see this if we here, so raise up, do the front shoulder with the hand above the bow arm, and then come in. This is the key thing. We'll watch one more shot so you can see this in action. And this is really important. Check your draw cycle to see if you follow this principle or not, because it makes your shot feel so much easier if you do above, set the bow shoulder, and then come down and keep extending on both sides. So, like I've mentioned, this is really, really key. From the other angle, from this angle, you can also, just as a kind of side note, I wasn't going to mention this, but you know me, I get carried away. Watch the bow arm elbow rotation. The timing of this is really good as well. Raise up, rotate, come down. That timing of the bow arm elbow rotation is really good, and I know a lot of people struggle with when should they do it. That is a great example of when you can do your bow arm elbow rotation. So notice how she does not, she puts the hand in the grip here and her elbow is facing quite upwards here. It's kind of facing up this way. Ansan has not tried to do any elbow rotation at this point, because if you do, you're just going to roll this shoulder in. So you do not want to do it at the bottom at your set position. You want to wait, similar to what we mentioned before. Be patient, raise up, and then do it and set your front shoulder and then commit to the shot. So that's a really good kind of lesson in the order of how to do things as well. So this video has already gone on a little bit longer than what I wanted. Those are some key things from Ansan's technique. I hope you join me for the membership, and I'm going to go through, there's 3 more things I want to go through for my members. So I'm going to do that now and post that video in the group. I'm going to go through the balance and the lean of the shot, which I think is quite important. You can kind of see that if I zoom out on this video. You can see there's a bit of a lean, and there's a couple of key things I want to mention with this, because Kim Woo-jin does something similar where he kind of raises up and has a little bit of a lean in the shot, and there's a little bit of nuance to that I want to mention. I also want to have a look at her bow hand in the grip, mention a couple of things about that, and also the order of when she raises up, lowers, draws the bow is really important as well. So I hope you join that group as well. If not, definitely join the email newsletter, and I'll see you in the next video anyway.